Of course, your attention span is very thin. That's why we have this bonus episode. Because the last episode stretched out to longer than 30 minutes, and we understand that you're not able to sit there and listen to us babble away for over an hour. We thought you'd definitely miss this important information, so we thought, how about we bring it back to the start of this episode, because now you're hooked. You mentioned something about your experience working on radio back home, which I thought we had in common when, like, since we both are into really passionate about work like this, media, I don't know, radio, TV, production and all. We once had a conversation around when I remember when that opportunity showed up. I remember calling you. I'm like, okay, hey, this happened. Radio station reached out. I There's a gig for me to like work on radio. I want to talk about how radio has evolved internationally. Yeah, there's a lot going on. But then now let's bring it back to Uganda and then now compare it to how local radio goes. And if you've noticed, is there a major difference in how the radio stations in Kampala work and how radio is back away from the whole capital city, away from Kampala, like let's say in Hoima or Poto? Do you think there's like a major difference in how radio works or how it even has an impact as a tool of influence in the people?
I think there is no huge difference. There is no big difference in how radio works. It's all the same. In East Africa, by the way, not only Uganda, radio is the same. What could make it different is the rate at which this whole evolution is happening, because radio is evolving every day. So the rate at which people are adapting to new technologies and all that is the one that may not be the same. For instance, you know that, for instance, energy is really a funky station that is very much visual more than it is in the audio thing. I know that there are people that love a lot of content from energy radio online, but they want it in video. And these are people who have never even tuned into its frequency to listen in. So people, the speed at which people adapt to the changes is really different. I know that some stations in Kampala still haven't gone digital.
Yeah. But also maybe because the people they are targeting are not really online. The local stations, like, I don't want to use names, but I know really, really local Baganda stations that are like, that really don't need the internet.
And they have the biggest listenerships.
Exactly, which proves my point. Now, I don't know, and I feel like the ones in Kampala really struggle. From my observation, really, I feel like radio stations in Kampala still struggle way more than how radio stations in these places really struggle. I know people who, also because maybe it's like a huge load of like people who are like still living traditional lives. There isn't as much TV, no Netflix, I don't know, DSTV. So people are still depending on their analog radio stations where they're like very loyal. You don't change the station. They know what program is coming. Like I've seen that, and I think a lot of radio stations in Kampala don't have that much listenership loyalty. I don't know what you think.
Now, John, let me tell you something about radio. Radio is the biggest way that people communicate in this country. Like the listenership of radio is way too high compared to TV or maybe the internet. And that Kampala that you people like to undermine, radio performance in Kampala is too huge. People in Kampala listen to radio a lot, though they listen to really established stations. You'll be surprised about if you.
When do they listen in? Please don't say when do they listen in? Don't say while they are driving to work, or I don't know. I've had that line of like when people are in traffic, or I don't know. People listen to radio a lot of times. I've heard that line, but I don't know. Like, is that something that's been proven to
Uh,
say?
do you know,
Yeah.
do you know about Ipsos? Ipsos just released a report a few weeks back, and they show that radio is still like the most consumed medium in the country. Still at 70%, like 70% of the people in Uganda listen to radio.
Mm.
Like now, well, there is a rise in usage of digital platforms, but radio still remains the biggest. Yeah, people listen to radio in their homes, in their cars, everywhere, their workplaces, and their shops. You see, there is something that you guys are you about to ask me which guys?
Yeah.
There is a small population in this country that is like a corridor of people that identify as elites. These are the people that are always on LinkedIn, on
Mm.
Twitter. They're not even on TikTok. They say TikTok is for Muntuawansi. Can you imagine Netflix? If people talk about, you think Netflix is cheap? Netflix. If you move around Kampala asking how many people use Netflix, you'll be surprised that even the people that ask, is it on Netflix? They don't actually use Netflix. They use Gojara. You know Gojara,
Mm. I've heard about it.
yeah. So
Mm.
radio is still a huge tool, huge tool. And advertisers are still injecting a lot of money into radio because they know that is where people that spend money are.
I guess it comes back to comms, yeah, where to communications, like how they say target group, I don't know, target audience,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we're only not informed, we're only in touch with things we're concerned about, really. Like, you don't see. I used to live with the Guardian who used to listen to Beat FM, and for that
Mm,
time, I think I was in high school. I knew about
mm,
I knew all about. I keep this is going to sound wrong, but like that whole informal sector energy of like the love letters they used to read, the marriage problems, I see all those my things, and I'm
yeah,
like, there's a
yeah.
whole, and there's a guy called Humukunja. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like that. There's a wave of those things of like, and I don't know if it's still a thing anymore. Probably still is, but the fact that you're not interested, you're not curious, so you're not even aware. You're like, whatever, and you're now only concerned with, let's say now. For me, I would say what podcasts. Maybe it's only on Sundays that I'm like, okay, let me listen into some radio and see what's happening there. But yeah, I think it still comes back down. We are really not the target audience of like these stations and all. But I think it's still influenced a lot by like maybe church or politics, or I still think they're really still great tools for like awareness mobilization. I sort of saw UEDCL and I say there would be one which radio station, and I'm like, okay, who are these guys going to talk to?
And those people that you think do not listen to radio are in a small corridor. Do you see that Chikubo lane?
Hmm.
That could be the population of the people that do not listen to radio. Okay, that could be the people that 100% rely on the internet. You see, communications budgets are going high each day. Communication,
Hmm.
PR, and marketing, their budgets are going up each day because they have to target all audiences. Another organization that I really like to work for is UNOC. The other day, UNOC is
Hmm.
celebrating 10 years. The other day I saw those UNOC guys. They had to go to Radio One, have to go to Galaxy FM, Capital FM, everywhere, all those radio stations, and they're all in Kampala because they know that if they
Hmm.
go to Radio One, they will miss a guy who listens to Galaxy. If they go to Galaxy, they will miss a guy who listens to CBS. Yeah, so they have to
Hmm.
go every station and fetch all those guys. But then they'll also do a Twitter space to cater for you corridor people, you internet people. You have to segment very well and know that if I'm here, I'm communicating to so and so. For instance, now podcasts, and for this case, audio podcasts. Oh my God. A friend of mine, Razia Athman, she is preaching audio podcasts, and people are taking long to adopt.
Mm.
Still
No, but
even
even
producing.
now with that part, I still see even the woke Ugandans still struggle with that part. That like I've seen it. Even as a
Yeah,
country, we're still, ugh, yeah.
yeah. I don't know
A
how
lot
much
to
you're going
do.
to cut this, but for someone to listen in for an hour, unless they're driving, yeah,
No,
they're
I
walking.
honestly think now, in my experience, I've listened to a lot of other people's podcasts,
Yeah,
and I feel
interesting.
like now it still comes back to your curiosity. Aren't you like curious away from things that happen just, let's say, in like a small hometown? Don't you want to know how people in Kampala live, or people in Masaka, or people outside of Uganda? How do people cope in Dubai? It
Yeah,
still comes
but
back from
then,
curiosity because I'm like being consuming knowledge, like what is happening out of here, like.
John, you will know that at the beginning of this, you told me we talked about the demography of the country, how we have a lot of young people. First,
Yeah.
young people want visual things. They want to see. Yes, they want to see how
Yeah.
much on audio. They want to see who is this behind the microphone, and what are they
Mm.
saying. And again, their attention spans are too narrow. Today, you upload a show on YouTube, and someone wants to see the highlights. They don't want to see the whole thing.
The whole video, yeah.
My friend recently wedded, and the video is
Mm.
3 hours long. He brought it here, and my mom was here, and my mom said, "Can't we see this summarized?" Because she couldn't stand watching it for 3 hours. The video of the wedding.
Yeah.
Mom, you are
I mean, that's
commenting.
obvious. You see, now,
God.
I think that this comes back to content. A wedding, I don't think there's any. It's like mass. There isn't a different order of how weddings go. I don't know. Guests arrive, the groom and bride arrive, and like we know how it goes. Can you when your
John,
mom
it's
says
the same thing.
she
It's
wanted
the same
highlights?
thing.
No, no, it's not the
Attention
same.
spans
Maybe
have
it's the
mind.
same thing with. No, no, seriously. Listen. When you see what's this guy? What's Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of the CEO? That guy has
Yeah,
episodes that have aired for about
yeah.
3 hours, and guess what? They have
Mhm.
about over 3, 4, 5 million views in a space of
I
less
know.
than 3 months.
I know,
So I
John.
don't want to think
Now, can we
an
find out?
attention span thing. It's just
Can we
a
find out how
generation.
many young people,
Can we?
John? Can we find out how
Mhm.
many young people from Uganda are watching that?
No, no, that's what I'm saying. It's not even a problem of the content or da da da. It's just a problem that we have as a country. We're like we are either too. I don't even have the kind words to say it, but it's our problem. Like we are treating ourselves like you're in a rush to go and do what? Seriously, that you cannot sit and listen into. So initially it's supposed to be, yeah, content is funny. I've had such experiences as well. Like you like, I'm not going to watch a whole hour of you giving me small talk. So yes, that means you up your content game to give people the less predictable stuff. I mean, the hard
True.
work should go into making sure you give people high quality content. Tell me something new. Don't come on here and
True.
tell
True.
me how to, I don't know, battle sales. Like even when I see creators lately and I'm like, they don't know, you've clearly not done your market research to understand, because Ugandans know the obvious things. So when you sit there and start babbling the how to, hey, no one cares. No, like, but again, now if people are putting out real high quality content and for some reason people are still like, can you wrap it up for me? You're the problem. Like, where are you
True.
rushing
True.
to really to?
But everyone is in a rush. Everyone is in a rush. That's how you guys have put the world today. Not only the country, but the entire world. People are in a rush. People are in a
No, I
rush. I
think
mean,
people who are in a rush are just cheating themselves. Even at work, to do really good work, there is nothing really good in this world that requires you to rush it. Nothing, nothing worthwhile. So each
mm,
time, unless you're really not interested, and now we don't read as much, you skim through. But even just the title tells you, okay, this is a good piece of information for me to pause and skim through. Oh, this is another one of those usual, I don't know, pity parties. I don't know, some sad story that I'm supposed to, you get like, then yeah, like what your mom said. This is a wedding. Can you wrap it up if it's 3 hours? What she knows it's not going to be anything different. People show up, eat food, line up for food, speeches, and yeah. I want to talk about your experience for the time you've been in radio and on air. The idea of professionalism, is it really, is it really really good presenters, and what even qualifies people to say, oh, this is such a good presenter? Or is it the accent? Is it you get, like, I feel like now there's a whole mix up of, like, people are not really really good communicators, but they're just, either they look good on camera, or they just have the fame, or you get.
I think it depends on the station that you're working for. Some stations go for the looks. Some do not care what you say on air. Some do not have editorial policies. Like some stations where even what you say is saved. I got a chance that I was trained to do radio. I was trained by some very professional people and very talented and very, very knowledgeable. There's a guy from Fort Portal called Akiki Jefferson. Then there's also a guy from Belgium called Jeroen Francis. These guys taught us what to say. They every time I'm in a radio studio, I've worked on 3 radio stations now. But every time I'm in a radio studio, I know sometimes I feel like Aki is listening because man, it depends on the station you work for. The station I work for is owned by New Vision. That's a Vision Group. The We have an editorial policy. It's like a Bible. Every time you mess up, our editor in chief who will ask you where the Bible is. There are things you cannot say on air. There are things you cannot wear going to the studio because sometimes it's visual. So it goes back to where you're working and the environment you're in. Because if the environment you're working in is serious, they will not hire someone because of looks. Well, looks may come in somehow for especially the other gender, news and all that. But they do not. They will not hire someone that because
Yeah.
will go against what they stand for. But professionalism in this country is dying because now people are looking for clicks. People record TikTok videos and they call themselves a TV and they say words that you cannot stand hearing even when you know that you're an adult.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm all for visibility lately, personal branding, and putting yourself out there. To know that I've, even while at it, I've seen people who are very unprofessional and still get away. I remember, I don't know if it was with you or with some other people who used to say, "Oh, look at this one! I'll do a way better job than them." But then I think why we think it's really true professionalism is dying is because it doesn't matter. Like the world, I don't know if it's the world or this country no longer cares whether you are good or not good enough. So long as you are making the loudest noise about it, then
Well, John, I think people are lucky somehow. Some people have luck in ways that you cannot imagine.
you think it's
Yeah,
luck.
yeah. So you find that some people are really in places and that do the job they're doing, and
Mm.
I sometimes we're not in control because if I think this would be a conversation of another day. I mean, we've been at places where you see that sometimes you can do something better than the other, and they choose the other one over a reason you do not know. They choose the other person, yeah, and you really see that this person is really not that you're trying to put yourself on top of them or something, but you know that these
You
people's
do a
ability
better job.
are constrained, but they take the other. Sometimes it's luck. Maybe God hasn't decided that your time is has come. Another things.
Yeah.
Haven't you
Um,
done a job interview and you feel like you're going to crash it, but then they take
yeah, and
someone else,
then yeah.
and then 2 months in, you see the guy they chose over you and what they are doing, you wonder.
I know. There's a friend who was telling me that this is his thought process in like situations like this. They're like, whenever something like that happens, they're like, your loss.
Yeah, I
Like,
posted that on Twitter sometime, and it got a lot of views and all that. And then I was forced to delete it.
mm. But
Someone asked me,
I think I feel like at some point in your career, you get to a point where you're like, I know I'm really good. Like I know the things I say. I know how to do. And now when you end up in spaces like that, you're like, you're low. For me, I
"Mm,
probably not said it out loud, but like I've had spaces where I'm like, I would
I've
have
tweeted it
knocked this one
sometime.
out of the park.
Hi, my name is Raymond. Um, Many people do not know that I'm a devout Christian because of the nature of work I do.
What's the nature of work you do?
Oh, I'm into media, events, production, and all that, and I work with creatives all the time.
Okay. Thanks, Raymond, for your time. We appreciate you for your insightful conversation. You've given me a bunch to think about.